Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Vivid Voltage, make sure you go ahead and check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using the code OmniPoke. For today's video, we are going to be looking at every single Wizards of the Coast Charizard card and the numbers behind them. Charizard has always been under the telescope in the TCG for being one of the most popular and favourite icons of the hobby overall, and today we're going to be looking at all aspects of Charizard throughout the Wizards of the Coast era. So, what we're going to be doing at looking at each Charizard here, we're going to be looking at the population reports as of current day. We're going to be looking at the pull rates of each Charizard in each set, and we're also going to be looking at record sale prices, the 2020 price range of PSA 9s, and also we're going to look at recent booster box sales where we do have that information. Just wanted to quickly look at the methodology here. Obviously, the pop report speaks for itself. I'm only looking at PSA. There are, of course, also BGS copies, and more recently, CGC has got their own population reports. So this is just looking at the most popular grading service out there, PSA, because they have the most fleshed out pop reports. But do bear in mind there are additional copies that can be in very good condition from these other companies. Looking at the sales data, I've tried to take a mixture of eBay sold listings, looking at PokemonPrice.com information, as well as the more recent website, PokemonMarketCap.com. Essentially, I've jotted around all of these to try and get relevant and accurate data for these sales prices, but take them with a pinch of salt. These are only public sale prices. I'm sure you have your own stories of certain private offers that you've had or given yourselves about certain cards. So these are hopefully just going to give you a good picture, and it may not be the entire story. So don't take these prices as gospel, especially if you're looking at it at a later timeline, of course, as well. So make sure you keep an eye on the date down below. For the booster box pull rate, I've actually seen a few videos recently crop up about pull rates, and I feel like their maths isn't always completely accurate. So what we're doing here is taking the number of non-Charizard pulls that are possible and dividing that by the total number of holographics. So there's always going to be one additional Zard in there for the most part. And then we're going to divide that, get the total for that, and make the power of the number of chances per box. Essentially, that means if we're going to look at an example here, there are 15 total holos in base set, 14 of which are not Charizards, and we're going to do that to the power of 12, which is 12 holographic pulls within a 36-pack booster box. That would give us the inverse rate, essentially the chance of us not pulling a Charizard, and then you just do a -1 times by 100, and you've got the percentage that I'm doing for the booster box pull rate. I believe that is the most accurate pull rate that we can get. Let me know if you have better maths that is more accurate there. But that's how I'm calculating the booster box pull rate. So yeah. Also, when relevant, there is going to be a little box down at the bottom corner that mentions different variations of the certain cards which are not distinguished by PSA. It'll become quite clear when you see these variations, but they're just sort of things to bear in mind. Sometimes they're errors on cards, or certain quirks here and there around certain things that may not immediately stick out to you on the PSA case. They will just be distinguished in the same way as any other Charizard, but there can be subtle variations there. So again, things worth noting, especially if you are trying to collect a Master Charizard set. Let's jump into it then. These are all in chronological order. We're starting with the first edition base set Charizard number 4, and you can see that the card is on the left side of your screen always. I'm going to have the booster pack and booster box that you can pull these cards from on this side. Variations whenever relevant. First edition base had 3 different variations in the stamp of the 1 in this corner that you can see over here. There were thick and thin stamps. It's actually quite hard to see the difference between these. And it's basically just looking at the text itself. You can see that there's quite thick indentations for the text here compared to more spaced out text on the thin stamp. And you can see there's a bigger gap in the 1 compared to the one on the thick stamp. And also you can get grey coloured stamps compared to more darker black stamps as well on certain cards. These aren't distinguished by PSA. They will all just be designated as first edition cards. But it's only really the first edition base set where you see a lot of variation. In most other first edition sets that go beyond the base set, they're normally much more uniform. But just things to bear in mind. Some people may potentially like pay more or less or collect certain types of stamps, but this is down to individuals rather than anything else. So let's talk about the population report. There are 121 PSA 10s and 650 PSA 9s. The pull rate of this card is 56.3%. And a record public sale price of a PWCC auction was $276,000. And yeah, that's pretty insane. I'm looking at the PSA 9 price range rather than PSA 10 because there's just a higher volume of sales to look at, so you can see a better range over time, or at least looking at the highest point and the lowest point within 2020. So hopefully that gives you a good indication of how prices have moved recently, and how potentially they could move back in future, I guess, or continue to grow even further, whichever way you look at it in a way. But it also should just give you a nice sort of range of where the PSA 9s are at. I think especially for cards like this, very few people will have their eyes set on a PSA 10 just by the price tag that it's currently got behind it. So I thought a nice PSA 9 price range would give you a more sort of down-to-earth view of acquiring a mint copy of these sorts of cards. And also there's a recent booster box sale total here. This is mostly looking at PWCC auctions and eBay recent sold listings. Unfortunately, we don't have the same sort of resources for booster box sales as we do for PSA graded cards. There's no real websites for that, so I've tried to take recent data from eBay whenever possible. If I haven't been able to find recent booster box sales themselves, I will look for the pack sales and simply do a multiplier by 36, or if I could only find heavy pack sales, etc. I was trying to extrapolate that sort of data, but fortunately we've had the recent Dumb Money live purchase of a first edition booster box for the figure of $375,000, and we know that was eventually a legitimate sale. So yeah, there we go, first edition booster box right there, and you can see clearly the box has the first edition logo on it. It says first edition limited printing on there. You can see the card symbols and the energy symbols actually go all the way to the arc of the booster box itself, where the little opening is. And when you look at that compared to an unlimited booster box, the energies are further away from the arc, if that makes sense. I think when we see the picture of the unlimited booster box, it will all become clear. Also on the side of this box, similar to the Shadowless box, which I'll be showing you in a moment, there are different artworks of the starters. Most notably, the Charizard is known as a green wing Charizard compared to the blue wing Charizard, which you can see is the artwork of the booster packs. And when you're looking at the booster packs, the first edition logo is down here. It will be notated as 11 tradable game cards, and will also show 3 little card backs in this bottom corner here, and the trading card game logo comes towards the bottom of the booster pack. For unlimited, they will feature higher up, which again we'll go over in a moment. As we move on to the Shadowless base set Charizard, now this has a lower PSA 10 population than the first edition, just at 54 copies in the PSA 10. There are 600 PSA 9s, and you can see there are actually a greater number in the total PSA population. That should mean that it's in theory a more difficult grade than the first edition version. Just based on the copies that have been currently sent into PSA, that could be a figure that's always changing. Do bear that in mind, but it is what it is. It obviously shares the same pull rates because it's effectively the same booster box, just a different edition. And you can see recent price data there as well. The only difference between the first edition and the Shadowless copy is there is literally no first edition logo on this middle left side here. Looking at the booster packs and the box, you can see that oftentimes Shadowless boxes can actually have Wizards of the Coast logos, which will never feature on first edition booster box shrink wrapping. There are, however, also certain Shadowless booster boxes which do not have the Wizards of the Coast logos either in the shrink wrapping. Something to bear in mind. You can see again the energies come all the way to the arc here, and the physical card backs themselves are larger than the counterparts for Unlimited. You can see here quite nicely the Green Wing Charizard on show right now. And you can see the only difference between the first edition and the Shadowless booster packs is that, again, there is no first edition logo down in this corner. Looking at the base set Unlimited then, this is the third print run of the base set, or the third variation, I should say. Still looking at the same Charizard card. Here you'll notice that there is a slightly different text thickness to the likes of the hit points and some of the text on attacks, etc. There is also a shadow that you can see on the right side here and also the lower side. Essentially, that's the reason why Shadowless has been really the hobbyist's name for the print run of the first edition and the Shadowless print, because later print runs then did include a slightly different coloring and texture to the cards, as well as most notably and most easy to spot the shadow that you can see on the right hand side of the card. No Unlimited copies ever received first edition stamps except for Machamp, which was not possible through a booster pack. You can see the PSA population here is far more fleshed out. There are plenty of base set Unlimited Charizards mint out there. There are 435 PSA 10s and 4,904 PSA 9s, and you can see the total population is absolutely humongous. That gives you a really good indication that the card is very popular in the first place. Population reports aren't only showing, you know how rare these things are. Oftentimes it also shows you how popular things are and how much people want to get an encapsulated copy of a Charizard. And there's enough demand that there's a total population of over 15,000, and that could still be growing quite rapidly, I'm sure, especially in the lower grades going forward. Pull rate is, again, the same with this booster box, and the prices you can see down there as well. The variations, which are not distinguished by PSA, for specifically the Unlimited print, would be the 4th print base set. You can see it says 1999 to 2000 down at the bottom here. This is just a snapshot of the bottom of the Charizard, and the one on the left is the 1999 Wizards only version of Unlimited. This is the much more common version, the one that you're seeing in full here. The 1999 to 2000 is known as the 4th print base. I believe it's related to a UK-based print run, and it is less common than the 1999. Sometimes that will command a higher price, especially if those people are able to market it and aware that, and make buyers aware of this date. So it could be something that you look for in your own binder copies, etc. It's unlikely that you'll have these by mistake, but it could be something that happens, so do bear that in mind. You'll notice that the booster box here, I mentioned so often that these energies arc very closely to the opening of the booster box, and you can see here the Unlimited versions have a bit of space between the arch of the booster box here. So if you are trying to spot a booster box just from the top, whether or not it's Shadowless or Unlimited, you can look immediately at these energy symbols and how far away they are from the arc of the opening. You can see when this is opened out and opened around shop fronts and stuff like that, originally at least, and the card backs themselves are much smaller. Also, on the side of the booster box, you can see that this Charizard artwork is the Blue Wing Charizard. It follows the booster pack artwork and replaces the Green Wing that you could see on the Unlimited and First Edition booster boxes. Looking at the booster pack, it says 11 additional game cards rather than 11 tradable game cards, and the trading card game logo is towards the top. That's why oftentimes you will see people who haven't opened their booster box may sometimes pierce the top of the arch around here to look into their booster box, especially for Shadowless boosters, to see whether or not they can see this logo towards the top of their booster packs. That way they can know for certain that they have a Shadowless booster box compared to an Unlimited, because there were a number of Green Wing boxes that contained Unlimited cards. So do be extremely careful if ever you are looking to purchase a Shadowless booster box, because you can sometimes still have unlimited packs inside, so do be extremely careful there. Moving on to base set 2. Base set 2, again, not a high population here. You can see, again, it's the same classic artwork of Charizard. Now we are moving to a Cosmos foil rather than a Galaxy foil on the cards themselves. There is also a 2 logo here. This is denoting it that is a base set 2 card. And those are the main differences between this Charizard and the previous ones. Its PSA 10 population is still just at 53, so pretty low, and the PSA 9 population also sits just at 627. The total PSA pop as well, 2688. This is a slightly more difficult pull rate than the original base set Charizard, as there are more holographics that you can get in the set, and the same 1-to-3 holographic ratio, and you can see some prices down here as well. The booster box is topped with a Mewtwo and has that base 2 logo that you can see there quite obviously, and there are a number of different packs as well. I haven't got all the pack artworks, just ones that I've selected, but there's an example of a base set 2 booster pack as well. On to first edition Team Rocket, we have a Dark Charizard. We're going to be looking at the first edition copy first and go through its population. There are 438 PSA 10s, 1,394 PSA 9s. The booster box pull rate is 49.6%, so if you were hoping to open a first edition booster box of Team Rocket, you have almost a 50-50 shot of getting a Dark Charizard out of those box, theoretically. Well, at least one. The recent record public sale price is just over $10,500, and the highest PSA 9 price range has reached up to about $4,000 in recent months. You can see that for the Team Rocket booster box, the first edition logo is actually quite difficult to see unless it's in person, because it is black on black with the coloring of the booster box and the stamp itself. But the booster packs are easier to spot because they have whited out the first edition stamp there on the boosters. We'll then move on to a rare version of the same card, the Team Rocket Dark Charizard. Now this is number 21. You can see in the bottom corner, it is the non-holographic version of Dark Charizard. There's 386 PSA 10s with 540 in the PSA 9 population. You can see the total population is already a lot lower. This is what I mean really when I'm mentioning popularity as well as actual rarity and scarcity, because there's a higher total from the holographic Dark Charizard, but whereas the total for the regular non-holographic rare, really there aren't that many that aren't mint copies in the PSA Pop report. So people have only sent in copies of Dark Charizard for the most part if they believe they're in very good condition. That's really just, you know, down to the types of people who were opening these in the first place, and also somewhat towards incentive. There may not be as much incentive to have graded a non-holographic Charizard for the prices that they used to go for if you were looking to sell them. Now, looking at the higher end of the ranges in the more recent months, now there is a bit more incentive to possibly look to shift some PSA 9 and lower grades going forward. So I would imagine that this PSA Pop report will get much higher, much more quickly than perhaps the holographic Team Rocket Dark Charizard as well. You can see the pull rate for the non-holographic is just over 75%, which is not too shabby per booster box. And it's obviously in the same box and packs as the holographic version. So the Unlimited Dark Charizard as well has, again, quite a low population, 118 PSA 10s with 711 PSA 9s. Actually, some pretty rough ratios there. You can see there are 1,732 in the total population report. Again, the only difference between Unlimited and First Edition is that there is no stamp here. Aesthetically, and also, of course, there are far less in the print run for the First Edition than there are for the Unlimited counterparts. I should always mention that. So in theory, there were way more Unlimited copies in circulation than there ever were of the First Edition, just the size of the print run when it was initially released. The booster box pull rate is the same as the First Edition copy, and the record sale price for the PSA 10 was 4,500 recently. A booster box of Unlimited almost reached 5 figures quite recently as well, so something to bear in mind. And you can see again, this is the unlimited box that has no logo in the bottom right. The booster packs do not have any stamp for first edition either. And then, of course, there's the non-holographic unlimited version. I've really just got all these sort of figures in here and all these different variations in here. If you are looking for completionist Charizard, there is less than 100 PSA 10 unlimited Dark Charizards right now, less than 200 in the PSA 9. And you can see its record sale price is $800, even for an unlimited non-holographic. That is pretty impressive overall. We are then moving on to first edition Gym Challenge. This is the Blaine's Charizard, number 2 in the set. You can see, again, first edition logo is always going to be in the same spot. Its PSA 10 population is 306. Its PSA 9 population, 532. And there's a total of 1,065 in the pop right now for Blaine's Charizard. The booster box pull rate is almost 46%, so a little less than half the boxes that are opened will contain a Blaine's Charizard. The record sales price was $10,000, and a recent booster box sale was almost $30,000 as well. Sometimes these record public sales may be behind the times. There are some single copies that just haven't been on sale for a while, so again, just sort of take these as read. Don't think that, like, just because you've seen a record sale at 10,000 means you're going to be able to pick one up any day of the week for this amount. That's certainly not the case, not always the case anyway for some of these, especially when we get to lower population PSA 10s. It leads me to really think that they haven't been on the market for a while, I guess is a better way to say it. But the booster box, again, you can see quite easily there's a first edition logo on the top of the booster box, and the booster packs also carry that first edition logo if you are looking to distinguish them between the unlimited. Again, Gym Challenge, same Charizard as before, no logo here is the only difference. And there is actually a variation with the unlimited Blaine's Charizard. I'm pretty certain that there is no first edition errors with the energy symbol that is corrected. I believe the corrected energy symbol Blaine's Charizard are only on the unlimited copies. So you can see here that the Roaring Flames attack has discard all fighting energy cards attached to Blaine's Charizard. And that's actually a mistake in the print run, and there were actually corrected versions, as you can see here, just taking a snapshot, that there are also versions that say discard all fire energy, which is as the card was intended in the first place. This, again, not distinguished by PSA, so just something to keep an eye out for when you are looking at raw copies and all that good stuff. I'm sure some collectors will pay a premium for the rarer version, which is the corrected copy. The PSA 10 population is 121 in total. PSA 9's 512, and there's over 1,200 all in all for the Blaine's Charizard Unlimited, and it's reached as high as 4,500 recently for the PSA 10. And again, just showing off the booster box without the first edition logo, as well as on the booster packs, but that's what they look like. On to first edition Neo Destiny now. We have a Shining Charizard, number 107 in the set. It is a secret rare. You can see it is a triple black star rather than just one regular star that you can see in the corner of most rare cards. That is denoting that it is a Shining card, and you can see it's a secret rare as it is 107 out of 105 in the set. And this is the Neo Destiny symbol. First edition logo as always. The population for Shining Charizard is 204. PSA 9 population is 208, and the total PSA population is just a mere 572, so still in the mid 3 figures. The booster box pull chance is 33% flat, so quite a difficult Charizard to acquire, as the Shining cards had a much lower pull rate than the traditional holographic cards. These were a higher rarity than regular holos. As you can see, the Charizard itself doesn't have a holographic background, which was common with most Pokemon predecessors. Instead, the Charizard itself is in a silvery, glittery holographic. The picture doesn't do the Charizard too much justice here, but this is quite a vibrant silver color if you see the card in person, and it's all over the Charizard, and the background remains non-holographic, which is very unique for the Shining cards from Neo Destiny, and really a hallmark of this set. The booster box recent sale price, I couldn't find any actual sales price for the first editions for a while. So the speculative 39,600 was based on booster pack sales that had recently happened, but I'm certain that there would be a premium for a sealed booster box, so I could easily see that being a higher price. Again, record sales price for the Shining Charizard. I hadn't seen a recent one for a while, so the 22,700 may seem a little low to some people, but that's because there haven't been public sales data for this card for a little while. But yeah, that's what the booster box looks like. Again, you're always going to spot the first edition logo on the booster pack and the box, just something to bear in mind. Then we have the unlimited copy. Again, exact same card, exact same pull rates, but just a more common card because there were far more unlimited copies distributed than the first edition. The PSA 10 population is 269, the PSA 9 pop 483, and the total population of Shining Charizards is 1456. And you can see there has been a recent sale price for at least the unlimited box, which is 19,000. If you're looking towards, making some comparisons directly to first edition boxes, recently, if you look at the likes of Jungle and Team Rocket and Fossil booster boxes, oftentimes the unlimited go for around half the value of the first edition counterparts. So the Neo Destiny being around 19,000 makes me more confident in that speculative figure of almost 40,000 that I put on the previous slide. But again, this is all speculation and just things to bear in mind as we go through these numbers. We then move on to a Legendary Collection holographic Charizard. You can see Legendary Collection has this symbol in the middle right here. No first edition copies were distributed of Legendary Collection. In fact, Neo Destiny was the last first edition WotC set available, so everything else will only have one denotation. There's no distinguishing between Unlimited and First Edition from now on. So you will just see the Legendary Collection holo here that has a very, very extremely low population of PSA 10s of 12. This is the lowest PSA 10 population Charizard from Wizards of the Coast as of right now. The PSA 9 population also fairly low at 209, and the total PSA population of all Charizards from this set, from holos, is 620. The booster box pull rate is just shy of 50%. There are a decent number of holographics to pull in Legendary Collection. The record sales price was 12,600, but that was, I think it wasn't even in 2020. I think there just hasn't been a sale for a long time of this card. I think if it was in 2020, it was extremely early on. So we just don't have enough sales data. I mean, with a PSA 10 population, that can only be expected. So it really is just, guesswork trying to think how much a card like this would go for on the open market. Because, Legendary Collection is niche compared to some of the previous sets that we've talked about. But at that same time, it's such a rare card that is also a Charizard should drive the demand quite high. And when the booster box is selling around 25,000 at least right now, I think it's not difficult to say that 12,000 price tag is kind of out of date. But that's all we have to go on right now, so that's why you're seeing it. Recent PSA 9 sales show, that there's still some strong demand. If a 9 can go for up to 7,500, the 10, it's anyone's guess how much that would sell for if one ever actually came up. So yeah, the booster box doesn't have any first edition symbols, that's not possible. And the Legendary Collection booster packs, there were multiple as well, but again, no first editions in sight. There is also the reverse holographic version from Legendary Collection for Charizard. The booster box pull rate is quite different and actually lower than the holographic pull rate because there were simply so many cards in the set, and every single booster pack you would get one of any card of the set in the reverse slot. Rarity did not take any precedent there, so it's just a straight one chance out of however many cards were in the Legendary Collection. The Fireworks Holo is so difficult to read, it's actually hard for me to see how many cards you can collect in Legendary Collection. And that's really the hallmark of the Legendary Collection Reverse Holos. It has a very vibrant pattern. Many people call it the Fireworks holographic pattern. And again, the picture doesn't do it justice, just how much these cards can blind you in person with the sparkliness and the shininess. It made these cards very hard to read, but and it made Legendary Collection very unique in that regard. You can see a recent public sales price of 8,200 for a reverse holo in the 10, and even some 9s have reached close to that PSA 10 price. So again, that makes me think that the last sold PSA 10 was quite a while ago. But yeah, still from that same Legendary Collection booster box. There's also a non-holographic Charizard. This isn't able... You can't pull this in the Legendary Collection booster packs. It was only obtainable via the Lava theme deck that you can see on the right side of your screen there. It's a guaranteed card that you get in the Lava theme deck, so there is no chance. As soon as you get that Lava theme deck, you acquire the non-holographic version of this Charizard. It has the same set number as the holographic, number 3 of 110. And there you go. So you can see some recent sales data as well. Its population is also fairly low, just shy of 60 in the PSA 10, 130 in PSA 9, and just shy of 400 for the total population in all grades. There's also a box topper that you can get from the Legendary Collection. There are 4 different box toppers from Legendary Collection, Charizard being one of them. So it is S1 out of S4. That's how it's denoted in the bottom corner. Interestingly, its reverse holo pattern is different to the Fireworks holo that you can get within the booster packs themselves. You can see it is, kind of like dotted reverse holographic that you can see going around, and it actually doesn't have the regular card back that you would expect from a Pokemon card. As you can see by a PSA graded example here, it's actually the complete card list for the Legendary Collection that is on the back of these cards, which you can see in the cased copy here, which I thought was extremely interesting and makes these very unique pieces for sure. The PSA 10 population is 26. There are 20 PSA 9s and 83 in the total population for these box toppers. Do bear in mind the box toppers are oversized jumbo cards. They are not the size of regular Pokemon cards. So they are an acquired taste and a little bit less common, and sometimes in many cases just less often sent into PSA in the first place, because they are just different size to everything else that you would have in your collection. Obviously, the booster box pull rate is a straight 25% because there's 4 available. So 1 in every 4 boxes, you will literally get this at the top of your booster box, sat on top of your booster packs. So it's not like you could buy loose boosters and ever have a chance of getting this, because it doesn't fit inside booster packs. It literally lies on top of your box, and that's how you receive it. And yeah, record sales price of around $5,000 quite recently for one of these in the highest grade possible. On to Expedition now for the E-Series. There's actually quite a number of Expedition Charizards. This is number 6, the holographic in the set. Again, quite a low PSA 10 population at 35. The PSA 9 population is 243. The total pop is 560 right now. And the booster box pull rate is 31.6%. So again, quite a difficult one to get overall. Not the highest odds. Less than 1 in 3 boxes will contain one of these Charizards, just by the virtue of the sheer number of holographics in Expedition. Just off the top of my head, I believe it's 32 holos available in this Expedition set. So yeah, there's just so many holos out there that Charizard is a difficult one to acquire. Recent box sale price of $10,000. I think that might even be quite out of date. I think there just hasn't been many public sales of this box for a little while, just because it is far more rare and scarce than some of the other boxes that we've already looked at with higher price tags, just as I'm eyeballing this. And same thing for the public sales price. I think it's pretty obvious that a card with just a 35 pop in the PSA reports won't be going for a price like that. I can assure you that. There'd be tons of people sort of snapping your hand off for a price tag like that for a card like this, and how rare it is, like genuinely rare for the highest grade possible. So again, we just don't have a lot of public sales data for this card. It would be purely speculation how much this would go for in the PSA 10. They just don't come up all that often, so something to keep an eye out for. Hopefully the PSA 9 range gives you a better idea of where those prices could be at, so just something to bear in mind. As we are going to move on to the reverse holographic Charizard as well. So there is a rare copy of this Charizard, but this is number 6, so the reverse counterpart to the holographic version. There's also a reverse to the rare non-holographic version of this Charizard. So you're going to see this card very similar to this card, literally except for the number down at the bottom in a second. This one's PSA 10 population is 50, 86 in the PSA 9, and 189 in the total pop for this card. It's an even more difficult pull rate than the holographic version, interestingly enough. Just a 20.3% pull rate for this, because there are 165 cards in the set, and you have an equal chance of getting any one of those cards in the reverse holo slot. So yeah, essentially, you're going to be opening a lot of boxes if you're trying to get this exact card. And there have been some recent sold prices of 3,600 for the highest grade possible in Expedition. We then have the number 39 non-holographic card from Expedition. This is a Charizard. There is a variation for this Charizard, which is not distinguished by PSA. It is a 4-position only Charizard. So literally on the Charizard artwork, it's difficult to see in the video, but it has some white text literally on the card itself saying 4-position only. Now, PSA... I don't believe they grade these cards anymore. I think they might authenticate the cards, but I'm not even certain of that. So if you ever do stumble across these sorts of cards, be extremely careful. I believe CGC may be grading these cards and accepting them for their submission. So something to bear in mind, and could be something that we see in the open market in future. As previously, collectors may have just had to keep these cards raw. The PSA 10 population for the regular rare Charizard, though, is 144 copies, 74 in the PSA 9, and 261 in the total population. The booster box pull chance, even for a regular rare for this Charizard, is still less than 50% out of each box. Again, the sets were just so massive that it was difficult for you to ever even complete, rare sets after opening just one booster box. Trust me, I've done it myself. So yeah, record public sales price of $600, and those Expedition boxes are creeping up in price as well. There's also a reverse counterpart for this Charizard, of course. You can see it's still number 39. The PSA 10 population is just 44. PSA 9s, there are 70. And there's 182 in the total pop there, with a record price in the PSA 10 for $550 fairly recently. Now we have the regular rare version of the Charizard. We've seen this already from the holographic version as well as the reverse holographic version. Now you have number 40 in the set, which is just the non-holographic version of this Charizard. There's 132 PSA 10s in the pop with 80 PSA 9s. It has that same pull rate as the other non-holographic Charizard, obviously, because it's just another non-holo in the set that you could potentially pull. So the good news is, if you open a box of Expedition, you have a very high chance of getting one of those two Charizards, which is cool. Well, not extremely high, but higher than just finding one of them, I guess. And again, a very similar price in a record sale. And here is the reverse counterpart. Yes, it is slightly different to the reverse that we saw previously, as this is numbered 40, and it has a different population report and a different... Actually, it has the same pull rate, because it's just another reverse in the set. But it's I found it difficult to find a different record sales price data, because it would mean that I'd have to drill into every single sale like throughout 2020 and see which ones were designated the reverse that was number 6 out of 165 and the ones that were 40 out of 165. And even PokemonPrice.com, they just they just have a drop down for the number 39 reverse and the Charizard reverse that would encompass both number 40 and number 6, because they're the same artwork essentially in every department except for that number in the bottom corner. So yeah, really hard to find different data on this one compared to the number 6 reverse, but they are different cards, and if you're looking to complete the full set, especially in reverses, you need to have both. We then go on to Skyridge Crystal Charizard. It's actually just labeled Charizard, but this is, known in the hobby as Crystal Charizard. As you can see, its Pokebody is its Crystal type, and obviously you can see that it is a colorless type rather than the usual fire typing Charizard that you would see. So that's why it is known in the hobby as Crystal Charizard from Skyridge. The Crystal type cards as well had a slightly different pull rate, again, to regular holographic cards. It's believed that the pull rate of Skyridge crystals is between 12 and 18 packs you would get one crystal. I believe the Aquapolis crystal pull rate, just on a tangent here, was closer to a 1 in 36 packs. So the Skyridge crystals are actually more commonly pulled than the Aquapolis crystals. However, you can see that that booster box pull rate is still fairly low at 36.6%, and that's because this is one of 6 crystals, I believe, off the top of my head, from Skyridge, so do certainly bear that in mind. The PSA 10 population is 185 compared to 182 PSA 9s, so it actually seems to be one of the easier grades when you're comparing the PSA 9 to 10 population, and there are almost 500 in the pop report so far. It's had a pretty high record sale price of $28,000, but that is something to bear in mind when you're looking at the Skyridge box price as well, because they are extremely scarce and rare. I believe it's common knowledge that the e-reader sets were printed far less than the Neo sets, and certainly the first generation booster boxes, the Jungles, Fossils, Base Unlimited, those sorts of sets had much larger print runs than the likes of Skyridge. This was the last booster box that the Wizard of the Coast era were in charge of, and they tried to get as many out as they could, but they didn't have an extremely large print run. So yeah, that's why the booster boxes are scarce, rare, and ultimately quite sought after as well. There's also a reverse holographic counterpart to the holo for the Charizard. You can see it shares that same numbering, but it's simply a reverse holographic foil. And it has, again, a very low pull rate because you could get a holographic in every single booster pack, but you're trying to divvy it up between this one card and 143 other contenders that could be in your booster pack every time you're opening one for that Rev Holo slot. You can see that the PSA 10 population is 105 to 149 PSA 9s, with 382 in the total pop, a recent sale price of $6,000, and PSA 9s are getting almost up to the 2K mark, or almost reached the 2K mark, I could say. So yeah, that's the reverse copy. Finally, we have the box topper. Similar to the Legendary Collection, there is also a box topper version of Crystal Charizard. You can see that it's 9 out of 12 here, and it has a little box logo in the bottom corner rather than the regular Skyridge logo. And again, this would be, when you would open your booster box, there would be a different box topper on the top of your booster box. It is a jumbo version of the card. And it has a slightly different reverse holo. It's actually really difficult to do justice what it looks like. It essentially has like cracked ice holographic, but it's like semi see-through as well. So a very unique card to look at in person. The PSA 10 population is 61, the PSA 9 population is 21, and there's less than 100 in the total PSA population for these Crystal Charizards from Skyridge. There are 4 different box toppers from Skyridge, so again, you're looking at a flat 25% of which crystal you're going to get from your Skyridge booster box, which is pretty cool. And we have some recent sales of $6,200 for a recent PSA 10. So that rounds out all of the Charizards from the Wizards of the Coast era. I've done a quick ranking of a couple of the most important things to bear in mind when you are looking at these Charizards. Obviously, Charizard is always going to be one of these things that people have their own intrinsic sort of ideas about what their favorites are. You know, these are things that you can't put down in data. There's popularity around these cards that you can't always quantify. But these are just some things that I wanted to keep track of based on the numbers that we've been looking at today. The lowest pull rates for the holographics. So everything on here is only looking at the holographics rather than reverses and box toppers and all that stuff. So comparing the Charizard holographics here, the lowest pull rate is the Expedition, followed by Shining, Crystal, a tie between Base 2 and Gym Challenge, and then finally Legendary Collection. The lowest PSA 10 population of the Charizards goes Legendary Collection, Expedition, Base 2, Shadowless, and First Edition Shadowless. And the record highest public sales, at least that we have data of, goes First Edition, then Shadowless, then Skyridge, then First Edition Neo Destiny, followed by Base Unlimited in the 5th place slot there. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this rundown of Charizards. Hopefully you got some value from this. You found things interesting. If you are looking for that completion set, let me know how far you are through. I'm still working my way through the complete Charizard collection. I'm not always looking for the highest grades anymore because pricing has gone a little bit out of hand recently. But yeah, hopefully this was interesting to you guys. If you have any comments down below, be sure to put them there and I'll get straight back to you. If there's anything that I missed, do let me know as well. I hope I've been thorough throughout and also kept things at a decent pace to keep things interesting throughout. But yeah, that's Charizard in a nutshell. Hopefully you enjoyed the number rant. It may be something that I do in future. There's plenty more Charizards beyond the WotC era, so if you guys enjoyed this, do show it off with a like down below, and I'll be sure to get to work on the next video. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you there. Cheers.